Welcome to Thriving Tribesmen. My name is Kuri, your host, and I'm excited to be making this episode. How a sexless marriage affects men. Now, this is going to be absolutely incredible. When I started writing notes around this episode, which was on Friday, I realized that it's a bigger topic than I imagined. I was walking through what I wanted to say and what the things I wanted to point out, and I started reflecting on how I've come up to this point where I'm talking about this and speaking about it frequently, and speak about it from a different perspective that most people would. Therapists, I've even spoken to therapists, taught some therapists as well around this, and the reason why I can talk about it in such a way is that my journey in teaching and coaching people is about 10 years, long. So I've been teaching this for a very long time, and I started coaching this when I was trying to fix my own relationship. As I was fixing my relationship, started working for me, and I was speaking to people through Reddit and many other forums and then Facebook groups. And over the years, I've spoken to thousands and thousands and thousands of people, not just men, but women as well. And I started seeing some patterns on the psychology around sexless relationship, and more importantly, how does that affect somebody and how does that affect your behavior? And then also thinking about what are the influences that cause people to be most likely to end up in a sexless relationship, and how much of that is their upbringing, how much of that is their own belief systems, and how much of that is just that they are married to an absolute bitch. So, and again, there's several things, and there's no one size fits all. So when I was thinking about this, I started realizing that I can speak on several points, but there'll be some things that I'll be missing out, or things I might point out to and just put a pin on it and say I will do a different episode on another day. So as I was thinking about it, I was doing a mind map. I started getting more and more information around it to the point where I was not really sure now what exactly I was going to say. So I narrowed it down to 4 points, and we're going to do these 4 points in a series format where we're going to be speaking about this on different episodes, because I wanted to teach it all in one go, and I realized that it will be a disservice to you guys. So I want you to listen to the episode, to think about it, get your head around some of that point that we'll be talking about, and then it gives you the opportunity to then digest that and then take the next point. So I'm moving you along from a place where you're coping right now, because a lot of you guys are coping within the sexless relationship because of the way you've been affected by it, and want to move you from coping to a place where you're thriving. So by the end of this series, you should have these tools to not only communicate with the partner to navigate this sexless relationship, but also have that internal strength to approach this from a place where it's healthier, not just for fixing the sex relationship, but healthier for you mentally, so you're strong. So thank you very much for listening. If you're listening through YouTube, I would like you to subscribe. Our subscribership has been growing, which has been absolutely incredible. Thank you very much for that. And thank you for the comments as well. I've read some of the comments. I'm absolutely grateful for everything that you guys are saying. So again, if you've got any questions, you can write any questions in the comments. And with that out of the way, we're going to go straight into it. So today we're going to be talking about the impact of self-worth and masculinity. And I think this is where a lot of the sexless relationship starts. So in terms of when it comes to a sexless relationship, the people that are most likely to end up in a sexless relationship, again, it goes through the dynamic of how you view women and how you've had validation from women. And the women your caregivers would have been the main ones to set that tone for you. For example, most people that are in a sexless relationship is that their moms generally would not have had the tools to parent in a way that would make you feel validated without you doing something within or something to prove your worth. So it's not because they're bad moms, it's not that they don't love you, but they would have made you to prove your worth in order for them to show affection, for you to be seen. And again, most people within a sexless relationship find themselves in that place. So again, you started finding yourself as that you are not worthy of love until you act on, or at least you do something around that. And this becomes the driving force within a relationship where you're having to do stuff in order to prove your worth. And when you prove your worth, then you would find yourself trying to get validation from your partner. And what tends to happen is that within a relationship where there's sex involved, you trying to prove your worth is a value lowering action. So and again, within a sexual interaction, you need to be the leader. You need to be somebody that she needs to see as a leader. And when you are doing things in order to impress her, it then becomes you taking a submissive role or a child role. And this is, again, massively unattractive. And this then causes you to have this internal conflict, because now you're doing all these things to prove that you're worth something. Again, I'm just being general with it, but it could be anything. It could be you cleaning around the house. It could be you being extra romantic. It could be you trying to be extra funny. It could be you trying to be... There's so many things that I can point out right now that most people would do in order to prove their worth within their relationship, instead of just being okay being who they are. And again, sometimes fixing a sexless relationship is more about taking away some of the things that you're already doing, and then being comfortable with just being who you are and showing up as a leader within that those interactions. So again, your self-worth becomes a very important part, and I'm just going to put a pin on that. And then your self-worth is also massively tied in with your masculinity. And when I talk about masculinity, I'm talking about the side of masculinity where it's associated with sex. When it comes to that, you have to think about your sexual desire, that your sexual desire is influenced by testosterone within your body. Again, by the time you got to 12 or 13, you had this sudden urge to want to have sex, and it grew stronger and stronger as you started getting more and more release of the hormone, and that became the influence. Now you've got this physical desire to have sex, but you also have your mental side where it needs to rationalize it, and you started getting things that will get you off and things that don't get you off. Started sifting that. And whenever I speak to couples around sexual desire, particularly to the woman understanding the male sexual desire, it's so complex and it's so unique. Like for women, there's almost a template, because the sexual desire is governed by the fact that if she's frivolous with it, if she's stupid with her sexual desire, she will end up with an investment of a child, so she has to be guarded. And again, she has been influenced. The way she views sex is completely different to men. There's a lot of shame associated with it in terms of how people interact around it. Again, it's not on purpose. It's just how society has brought up you little girls into women. So they already have a way where they've buried their sexual desire from the time they started growing up. So it was more important for them to preserve that, not to show it, to guard it, to bury it. And there's this, point where they become independent, where they now start trying to explore a little bit of that because they're becoming into women. Again, that's another conversation on a different point. So it's another episode that I'll be making at some point. But coming back to the men, the sexual desire is so complex. And again, this is where most of us start figuring out fetishes and what we like, whether we like lingerie, no lingerie, big boobs or legs, or we start figuring out what that is, what's the thing that's going to stimulate us the most, and how that, in fact, what are the sort of interactions that are going to do that, and what sort of. So again, a lot of it would be visual, a lot of it would be mental. So there's this real thing, and we now tie that into being able to act on those things. We really associate it with the strengthening of masculinity, and this is very important. So if you now couple these two things, where you've got your self-worth and then your sexual desire, this becomes really very important parts that we don't have real tools to continuously guard them and continuously grow them and continuously fortify them. And therefore, when you get into a relationship and then you hit friction or you hit a place where you can't have sex, or it becomes a stalemate, like we're in a sexless relationship where it's not happening, these are the things that, because you have no way of strengthening these two, these fall apart. And when they do fall apart, it really starts hitting your self-esteem. So a lot of guys start suffering from a self-esteem perspective where they don't really know if they're worth something within that relationship. They question whether they've made the right decision. And again, there's something to be said about this, and it's a side note that when you made a decision to be in the relationship with this person, you were given information in order for you to make that decision. So, and that information was, this pussy is open for business, just for lack of a better term. I'm on YouTube, so hopefully that's not going to be taken down. But this sex is open for us, and it's something that we're going to both enjoy. And the frequency was good, the frequency was amazing. And then you made a decision based off of that, okay, this is a person that I can connect with. I've connected with them continuously, and I'm happy to do so. So, and again, I watched this guy called Fresh and Fit, and he's absolutely spot on when he says women control access to sex, but men control access to the relationship. So when you decided to be in a relationship with this person, it was because based off of the information that we are going to connect frequently on sex. It's something that is both important to you guys. And then over a period of time, when that person is now within the relationship, there is a massive decline with that. And as that declines, because we don't have the tools to build on our self-worth and build on our masculinity, especially on sexual desire front, and communicate that effectively, it becomes something that erodes over a period of time, and we just don't have the tools to do so. And as that erodes, it also takes your self-esteem, and your sense of masculinity just keeps dropping. And what ends up happening is that it becomes this vicious cycle that the less sex that you have, the more rejections that you get, the more self-esteem that you don't have. And when you don't have self-esteem and you don't feel a sense of masculinity, it makes you then want to chase to try and get that. And when you try and chase to get that within a relationship, this is very value lowering. It makes you try too hard, which then makes her feel seduction resistance. Because again, in a sexual interaction, she's expecting you to lead. And the reason why she wants you to lead is about the other things I talked to you about, that from the time that she was 3-4 years old, it's been a bearing effect in terms of sexual desire and what that looks like and how sex is for a woman. So there's this real bearing effect. And what I mean by that is like myself, I have a daughter. She's 11 now. But by the time she was 3 years old, if she wore a dress and she said funny, I'll be telling her, no, don't sit like that. You have to sit like this. She doesn't know why I'm saying it, but it's the first time I started introducing her for her to protect herself from a sexual crime or whatever. But you see what I'm saying, that the women come from a different perspective when it comes to sexual desire and how sex is perceived. For boys, I think he was 11 when I spoke to my son. First time about sex. There's no interaction that we'd had before that wasn't. So you see how different it is that because there's no real consequence on boys on the sexual front, So again, that's another point for another episode. But when we talk about being masculine and self-worth and self-esteem, this is one of the things that becomes very, very important, because when you can show these, when you can grow these, your self-worth, and being able to show your sexual desire and communicate that effectively. In fact, for you to know how to communicate, we did a series pretty recently about how to communicate your sexual desire, and I go a little bit deeper into how you can do that within your relationship. When you do that, when you couple those two, again, when it comes to self-esteem, there's also other things that you can do. One of the things that you can do is really do difficult shit. I think when you do difficult shit, it's very good. When I say difficult shit, I mean, it's the same old things. I know some of you guys already train, some of you guys exercise, but I'll challenge you to a few guys that I've taken through doing salsa dancing, incredibly masculine type thing, because again, what it does is it forces you to go and learn a dance, which is very like throwing you in a chasm. But also it then teaches you to be confident around a woman. It teaches you how to then lead as well. And it teaches you certain things that are out of your comfort zone. But as you get better at it, again, it makes you very, very strong as a leader within the bedroom and communicating your sexual. But more importantly, you start getting a good confidence around you, because you're learning a skill that is pretty useful when it comes to leading within a relationship. That's one. The other one is improv class, being able to come up with funny lines. Again, that's very powerful within a relationship. The other one is, for me, which I do, is Muay Thai. I love Muay Thai. I love MMA. So because of that, because it's extremely difficult, it gives me a sense of confidence, sense of self-worth. Again, makes me a leader, makes me not panic under extreme situations. That, again, builds me self-worth and self-esteem, which then within a masculine realm, again, if my wife finds it extremely attractive. So again, we've covered a few bases. Just to recap of what we're talking about is that how does a sexless relationship affect men? Generally, in the beginning, as we're starting here, it impacts your self-worth and your masculinity. And a lot of your masculinity is tied into your sexual desire and what that looks like. And then your self-worth is just the template of how you communicate how you see yourself within a relationship, and how you get validation from that relationship. What does that mean? It means that if you feel like you need to prove yourself in order to get love, then it's the wrong dynamic to be approaching the relationship, and therefore you will find yourself chasing within that relationship, which is value lowering, and then that will impact your self-esteem. And when your self-esteem goes, your sense of masculinity will go as well. And again, you just feel inadequate. You get these feelings of rejection consistently, and you'll be getting a lot of these feelings of emasculation as well, that even the interactions that you're having, even that innocent interactions, they become very difficult, because again, you can construe them into these emasculating things that are happening within a relationship, because you're really sensitive to it, because you've been rejected for so many times. And a lot of the rejection that you're facing is because of this lack of self-esteem, this lack of feeling that you're masculine, because again, you've got this person who has had many years of being buried, the sexual desire has been buried. They are now doing the same to you, because they've just not been able to come out of that bubble. Now, it is in conflict with the beginning of your relationship, where she's giving you all this validation and sex before. Again, when the honeymoon period, inverted commas, finishes, she'll resume from where she left off, where the sex was buried. It's now just really finding out a way of navigating this discomfort. That's what we call it. We call it sexual discomfort, that burying effect. That she's been taught sexual discomfort for so long, she adopts it, and then all of a sudden, she's now in a relationship, and she doesn't know how to come out of it. A lot of it makes it even harder for you to get out of it when you don't have strong self-worth and be able to communicate your sexuality confidently, your sexual desire confidently, and do so effectively. So again, you see how this sort of plays out. Now, there's other bits I was thinking about putting in here, but for now, we're going to keep it here, and then we're going to discuss a few more things tomorrow. And tomorrow, we're going to be talking a little bit more about the emotional strain and loneliness that might be coming from the effect of a sexless relationship, and how that causes emotional strain and loneliness. So we're going to dive a little bit deeper into that. Thank you very much, guys, for listening. Hopefully, I'll be seeing you guys soon. Take care.